If there's one thing the art community on TikTok is good at, it unfortunately has to be hating on art styles for no reason. And this week, or rather a week ago, the art style that's getting the metaphorical spank on the butt is none other than the popular alt art style from the glorious days of lockdown. It will seem art TikTok has a problem with this art style for some reason, but why is that? The alt art style on TikTok is for the most part a common theme that was quite popular in drawings from artists on TikTok back in 2020. Alt art, mostly coined from the alternative or alt community and its subgenres across social media, is characterized by moody drawings and characters expressing relatable emotional trauma from situations the artists themselves have experienced and are mostly relatable to their audiences as well. And for people living under a rock like me before I decided to, make this video, chances are you probably have scrolled past one of these on your For You page on TikTok. These videos, which are usually sketches and drawings of the artist's OC, are easily noticeable from the splashy vibrant colors the artists occasionally use for their characters, or rather muted gloomy color palettes for artists who prefer moody drawings of their OCs. These OCs are riddled with accessories like piercings, scars, and other interesting little details that make the characters look rather cool than appropriately edgy. According to the youthful scholars from within the TikTok art community, the alt art style grew to become popular because of the sketchy and intentionally imperfect drawings the artists posted and the exaggerated proportions the characters had in their drawings, which sadly became the downfall of this beautiful art style, which we'll definitely talk about later in this video. The alt art style blew up on TikTok in 2020 during the good times of lockdown and peak Fortnite Chapter 2. TikTok artists started sharing heartfelt drawings they coincidentally referred to as vent art or sad posting, which, as the name implies, were drawings made by the artists as a means for them to cope with their anxiety, depression, loneliness, and other forms of trauma they were going through in that current moment. Most people instantly became attracted to this art style because it felt rather honest and quite different from other forms of art they were used to seeing on social media. One of the reasons why people are grinding their teeth, balling up their fists, and throwing a tantrum over the alt art style is the way the artists were drawing their ears. Apparently, artists always drew ears in a half-cut circle attached to the head, but then always added an X in the middle, which was a stand-in for the rest of the detail in the ear. So instead of drawing the rest of the shapes and details in the ear, a simple X in the middle will do. And this somehow became a massive problem. TikTok users all complained about how the ears were drawn, but still couldn't give one genuine reason why they hated how the ears were drawn with an X. Everyone and their dog Jimmy were all complaining blindly till someone finally admitted they drew the X in the ears because they didn't know how to draw the ears in the first place, and they used the X as a crutch, leading to them hating it every time they looked back at their drawings. Another user commented that characters who had an X in their ears was because they were deaf and couldn't hear properly, which was probably why the artist drew an X to cover them, which would have kinda made sense since artists sometimes use an X to show when a character's eyes are closed in a cartoon or when they're knocked out. But then again, it didn't mean they were totally blind in the end. Someone even called it the cauliflower ear because the X makes the ears look like a cauliflower, which is mostly how fighters' ears look after they get cooked in the ring. Other people said they usually just draw a Y for the ears instead of an X, just so they could stand out and be different, and others just drew a question mark if they were trying to make the drawings look rather realistic. The next problem people seem to have with the alt art style is that all the art just looks the same. Apparently, each artist wasn't unique enough in their own way and all copied the same elements and features everyone else was was using in their drawings. According to them, people who drew in the alt art style had a formula everyone else was following religiously. Huge sad eyes, grungy scribbles for textures, and quirky expressions which most of the time made every single drawing look almost similar to each other. People on TikTok who hated the alt art style noticed a pattern, and the once faithful alt art consumer audiences started calling it out for being an unwelcome gimmick all of a sudden. The worst part was the TikTok algorithm, which doesn't help because when a particular style of video goes viral, hitting the For You page of everyone on the platform, it automatically starts pushing other videos that follow the same format as the one that goes viral, which in turn results in artists starting to copy each other just to stay visible and potentially go viral along the way, which technically isn't a bad thing, but your own originality and uniqueness then becomes less and less irrelevant since everyone is trying to keep up with fast-paced social media trends. Talking about interestingly unique art styles, independent animation studio Steamroller Animation have launched the pilot episode of their epic new series Spice Frontier Escape from Veltagar. The story follows a team of space adventurers who crash land on a desert planet during a planned excursion. Now Kent, Sela, Ada and the rest of the team have to get their ship up and running to quickly get out of Dodge right before the mysterious unknown dwellers of the planet find out they have unwanted guests waltzing around their homeland unannounced. The art of Spice Frontier is so gorgeous to look at and feels like a breath of fresh air compared to everything else I've watched so far. The lighting and colors are vibrant with a lot of complementary hues which I really enjoy. The characters all sound interesting with dynamic personalities. The animation is so fluid, and I'm not even surprised since the creator of Spice Frontier, Jalil Sadul, was a former animator at DreamWorks, so that probably explains why everything looks so good. One of the characters is also voiced by popular cosplay artist Kira Please, who you've probably seen across social media in one of her viral videos. If you're a fan of Star Trek or Treasure Planet, then you're in for a treat, as these were some of the inspirations for Spice Frontier, along with other fan favorites like Dungeons and Dragons. The Spice Frontier Escape from Veltagar pilot is now live on Steamroller Stories YouTube channel, and we need all your support to expand this episode into a full series, and only your viewership will bring this dream to life. So if you're looking for something new and interesting to watch while you eat or draw, head over to the link in the description to watch the pilot episode. All the links will be in the description, and a big thank you to Steamroller Animation for sponsoring this video. Drawing guidelines and then totally neglecting them during your drawing process is another reason the professors on TikTok are hating on the alt art style and artists who drew in that art style. Apparently, every time artists started their drawings with guidelines, they ended up drawing the features of the face in a totally different position. And I feel like this was happening often because the guidelines the artists were using in their drawing were based off of the Loomis method or something similar to that, which was closer to reality, while the artists were drawing in a much more simplified and stylized art style, which is why both techniques just end up clashing whenever the artists were drawing. I think a simple fix for that is just to use the same guidelines, but instead of using the regular proportions of the face, you start off with setting the lines using your stylized proportions. But the final and most common reason people automatically hated the alt art style is because, according to TikTok scholars, it just looks like low effort art. And this assumption is mainly because a lot of the artists who were inspired by the alt art style or started using it subconsciously in their drawings were mostly beginner artists who probably had no experience with art and were just trying to learn how to draw as they copied from their favorite artists, which is why some of their proportions were off and sometimes they exaggerated some parts of their drawings because they just didn't know better. This whole situation happened with a younger artist and was so bad the artist had to leave the platform, eventually forcing them to change their art style because of the amount of bullying they received on TikTok, which is just insanely ridiculous. Bullying a beginner for not understanding how to draw or just because they're drawing bad anatomy and their proportions are wrong is stupid, because that is literally what being a beginner means. They're obviously not going to get it right in the beginning because they don't have the knowledge and experience. Obviously they're going to get better with time, but making fun of them and bullying them is not going to teach them anything. Popular artist Bubbly, who has approximately 1 million followers on their TikTok account and a whopping 7 million likes across their videos, has been mentioned multiple times in comment sections talking about the alt art style. Numerous artists mentioned how Bubbly inspired them to start making art and posting videos on TikTok because of how cute her art style is, while some others fancied the videos she posted on her TikTok account. Comments like "I love your art style so much, I'm going to steal your art style" are what you will find if you scroll through any of her drawing videos. And for good reason. Bubbly's art style is very loose and playful, but yet isn't overly simplified for the most part. And the proportions of her characters aren't heavily exaggerated like other alt artists on TikTok. But the main thing that grabs the attention of people who enjoy Bubbly's art style is the way she draws her faces. She draws simple shapes for the eyes and also makes them slightly larger than the other features of the face, which makes the faces she draws look mostly cute even when she draws funny expressions for her characters or sad moody faces for her OCs. Bubbly also has a tutorial on how she draws noses for her characters, since out of all the features of the face, she spends a little bit more time drawing the nose with a few extra details. As with every other alt artist on the internet, and even artists who don't necessarily draw in the alt art style, Bubbly also draws her OCs as chibi characters when trying to draw a cute interaction between them or funny little moments between both characters. Bubbly has a great art style which a lot of people seem to like and enjoy. Her art style demanded a lot of attention on TikTok, with her drawing videos raking in millions of views and thousands of comments filled with people just ogling over her art style, as they should.
Sketchbook check! Find a picture that you think that is absolutely adorable. Next, find one that you took a lot of time on. Now show off your most recent. And now find one that you absolutely fucking hate!
The next alt artist who inspired a trend of artists drawing in a similar style to them is Gummy. Gummy, or Gumdess as their TikTok handle suggests, is an artist with a whopping 2.4 million people following their TikTok account, which is almost 2 times the population of people living in Iceland. Gummy posts drawing tutorials and process videos on their TikTok account and was raking in millions of views across their videos. One thing that stands out in their drawings is the way they draw their eyes. Gummy likes to draw their characters with larger eyes than usual, which makes them look super cute, especially when finalized in painting. Gummy also pays close attention to making sure the eyes have as much detail as possible to make them stand out and become a statement in every single one of their drawings, without being too overbearing and becoming a distraction from the rest of the character. Their art style is a fine blend between simplified anatomy with a rather small hint of anime influence. They also use pretty vibrant colors for their drawings, and their art is a colorful inspiration to everyone who enjoys their art and wants to draw just like them.
Bueno, aquí ya no sé si elegir este o el que está abajo, porque no sé cuál es más viejo. No, creo que este sí es más viejo, este sí es de la secundaria entonces, porque, no, miren. Bueno, entonces este. Ya me acordé por qué este es de la secundaria, porque tiene esto y yo no lo escribí. Y no me acuerdo quién fue. Bueno, aquí me gustó la portada así sencilla. Lo abres y no había nada, solo cositas así. Y un dibujo de una mujer que ya no existe. Bueno, aquí una coca. Y un de este, no me acuerdo, aquí de eso sí estoy bien orgullosa porque fue mi primer experimento para cambiar de estilo. Miren, acá ya lo hacía más. Y esta era yo en la prepa, super emo. Ay, esta gumi me gustaba mucho y pues aquí estaba yo. Nada que ver con mi yo de ahorita, la verdad. Ok, bye. Oh, me gustaba mucho siempre soñé con hacer esta gumi sticker. Es que gumi antes era así como más chola, más Billie Eilish. Y pues ahora es más chica sexy, kawaii, no sé. Miren. ¿Será que parte 2 de este? Digan chicos, tapa la pantalla.
A large number of people on TikTok stare with wide eyes and pointed fingers at Gummy, saying most of the art on TikTok from 2020 was inspired by Gummy, as every single one of their drawings heavily influenced younger artists who were posting on TikTok. Although some people were making fun of the art style, saying it was cliche, but to be honest, I don't see anything wrong with it at all. I just see an artist having fun drawing what they enjoy for the most part, which isn't harmful last time I checked. Other artists also left comments on why they enjoyed drawing in this art style and tried to disperse the crowd of hate-mongering commenters who were trying to talk down on the art style, saying it wasn't peak. To be honest, this style broke down anatomy in a way that I could understand, enough so that I could actually work on what was going wrong. This art style is actually scrumptious besides the over-excessive blush. Excessive blush, you say? Bro hasn't heard of the jelly art style. I unironically love this art style. I don't draw with it because I can't imitate other art styles, but every time I see it, it's a blessing. I remember drawing something a few years ago in that art style and then giving it to my mom. She showed me that she still has it. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I think it's a cute memory and you should definitely keep that drawing. Years from now, you'll be thankful to your mom that you have that drawing to look back at just to see how much progress you have made. And it's just a cute memory as well. Apparently, it seemed a large number of people used this art style in their drawings one way or another for the majority of 2020 through 2021. I for one didn't particularly draw in this art style, but I'm sure some regular viewers of the Mohammed Agbadi YouTube channel for entertainment and art drama still draw like this in this moment, which is okay, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. Unlike some unfortunate members of the TikTok art community, we don't judge you based off how you draw. I think the art style was a decent art style and most of the artists who used it were great, and the drawings looked pretty good for the most part regardless of what people kept saying about it. Yes, the artists used X for the ears. Yes, they didn't use the guidelines. Yes, the faces all look the same, but who really cares? They're enjoying themselves, having fun drawing what they like and learning along the way. So instead of making fun of them for drawing how they did or laughing at the art style, commend them for at least putting in the effort trying to learn how to draw something instead of, I don't know, stealing art or tracing someone else's art or pretending to be a beginner artist just trying to go viral. Well, it looks like you've made it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. With all that being said, I'll see all you pretty penguins in the next video. Bye.